been a strange election here in the U.S., but something equally odd is happening in Brazil. More than 80 candidates in the country's municipal elections have added the name Bolsonaro to their own ballot names. Why? Well, they're hoping to hitch a ride on the coattails of the current president. Despite his controversial handling of the pandemic, President Bolsonaro hasn't polled better since taking office. Bloomberg's Julia Leite, who oversees all of our reporting in Brazil, joins us now for more from Sao Paulo. Julia, it's great to have you with us today. Please help us understand this a bit more. How does this even work, and is it legal?
Legal, and I think you explained it very well. It's people trying to catch a ride on the name recognition, right? And Bolsonaro is not the only one. We have a Donald Trump Bolsonaro running for office as well, and we have a Captain Chloroquine running for office as well. So this happens every time, and it's usually related to a nickname that people are known for. That's kind of what the law says, but it's very subjective and it's very rarely contested. So essentially, you can run on any name.
Well, give us an idea of is this something that serious candidates are doing, or is this just unserious candidates?
I think this is a municipal election, right? So you have a lot of city councils. You usually don't see things like this when you're talking about governor, for example, or for president. But you do have, for example, a guy running for governor of São Paulo who's a famous YouTuber whose YouTube name is something like "Mom, I Told You So." And that is packed into his name, kind of like Lula had Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, kind of as a nickname packed in.
Wow. And we're looking at a lot of Twitter profiles of people and Instagram profiles of people who've taken on the name Bolsonaro. How has the president been able to remain so popular when the country has been hit so hard by the pandemic?
He actually got more popular with coronavirus, and that's because the government is giving out a ton of money, right? Brazil is spending almost like a developed economy, despite being obviously not a developed economy, and this having consequences to government accounts down the road. But the government gave out essentially roughly around $100 a month since the start of the pandemic to informal workers and people who lost their jobs. And that's in some areas of Brazil, that's a lot of money. And it actually improved poverty levels, and along with that, improved Bolsonaro's popularity.
Well, the president is more popular than ever, but how divided is the population? I mean, are we seeing divisions similar to the ones we're seeing post-election here in the U.S.?
We definitely are, and we already saw them in Bolsonaro's election in 2018, which was as much on his law and order approach as it was on people saying, I just don't want to vote for the left. I want to vote the left out of power. And this is the person that is there available for that. But the system here is very different. We have 40-something political parties, so it is not as bitterly divided, and it's clearly divided as you see it in the U.S., but you do have a very strong anti-left movement after the PT, the leftist party, was in power for decades.
Well, that really brings me to my next question: is what's happened to Brazil's left? I mean, Lula and his supporters were certainly very powerful in the early 2000s. So what's become of that movement, and will we see this play out in the municipal election at all, or represented in the municipal election?
They are still strong. In 2018, the second round, the runoff for president was Bolsonaro against the PT candidate, who was not Lula because he was barred from running because of his conviction for corruption. But in the municipal elections, the PT candidates are not doing very well. You have seen even some much smaller left-wing parties fare better than their candidates in some of the main cities of the country. São Paulo is a good example of that. So we'll have to see after Sunday, after the votes are in and we count the votes on Sunday, what the balance of that is, and if in the end it benefited Bolsonaro candidates, or if the left is still doing well. But it's a great question, and we'll look into that.
Bloomberg's Julia Leite in Sao Paulo. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.